Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Congregation of Guelph. My name is Ruth, and I will be your service leader this morning. We strive to be an inclusive community, cultivating diversity of mixed ages, genders, sexual orientation, and race, and we welcome all who come in search of truth and meaning. To quote Linda Friedman, inclusion is not a program. Inclusion is a mindset. It's the way we treat each other and the way they treat us. Inclusion is the opportunity to learn together and from one another. Today we celebrate Winter Pride with our Guelph Pride and LGBTIQ plus community. We see you, we hear you, and we celebrate you. In this new month of February, we also honor Black heritage. Our service today is focused on the theme of beauty in its many manifestations. Later in the service, we will move into breakout rooms and ask people to share something that they find beautiful. If you forgot to bring something, leave now if you wish and go quietly and get it, and so that you're ready for the breakout rooms. Michael will now remind us of whose land we are sharing.
We acknowledge we are on the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation of the Anishinaabe peoples. During our region's rich indigenous history, these lands have been home to the Chinantan peoples, or Atawandaran, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Métis. We express gratitude for the sharing of these lands. We also acknowledge the tragic history between First Peoples and newcomers. We strive to be accountable by acknowledging this history and cultivating respect in our relationships with Indigenous peoples and the land. The service runs from 10:30 to 11:30, followed by 15 minutes of social time in the virtual Sunshine Room, and we will meet for a discussion circle from 11:45 to 12:15. The Unitarian Congregation of Guelph is lay-led. Every service is unique, with different service leaders and speakers each week. Join us a few times so that you can get a sense of what we are all about.
Dot and Helen will now read our words, our beginning words. Dot and Helen are both long-term members of UCG. Dot promoted UCG at the Evergreen Center when she organized Pride Group social networking gatherings aimed at seniors. Different services and speakers, including Mayor Tam Guthrie and folks from nursing homes, were invited to provide information. As a result of her efforts, 2 years ago, Dot was presented with the Red Brick Award for Leadership by the Pride community. Dot and Helen have been married for 32 years.
Today, Dot and I are going to read you a writing by H.P. Rivers called Blessed Are the Queer. H.P. Rivers was raised on Love and Coffee by Westside UU Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. They are a Master of Divinity student at Star King School for the Ministry, currently, and serve as Director of Religious Exploration at the UU Church of Tallahassee.
Blessed are the wanderers,
Seeking affirmation.
blessed are the worshipers,
Praying from closets, pulpits, pews, and hardship.
blessed are the lovers of leaving,
Leaving family and familiarity. Leaving tables where love is not being served.
blessed are those who stay,
Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied.
blessed are the queer disciples of truth,
Living, breathing, sacred reflections of divine love.
Aspen will now light the chalice.
We are a people of beauty. Recognizing the beauty Around us and within us, in voice and spirit, we gather to light our chalice. May we savor the beauty of our abundance and diversity, always cherishing one another and our earth. May we remember to inhale the lushness in life, knowing that we are a people of beauty. Those words were written by Kimberly Ann Tonchak Carlson.
Today's story explores another idea of beauty, another kind of beauty, the Japanese kind of beauty, wabi-sabi. Our story today is about a Japanese cat, wabi-sabi, who goes in search of the meaning of her name, only to learn that the meaning of wabi-sabi is difficult to understand. Wabi-sabi is not a thing or an idea. It's a way of seeing the world. It's the feeling one gets when beauty is found in mysterious places, the natural, modest, imperfect, and mysterious. In this book, the idea of wabi-sabi is explored through sparse text, a form of Japanese poetry called haiku, and collages of natural and time-worn human-made materials. Bill Greenaway will read our story today.
I'm reading Wabi Sabi by Mark Ribstein with art by Ed Young. Wabi Sabi was a cat who lived in Kyoto, Japan. One day, visitors from another country asked Wabi Sabi's master what her name meant. It had never occurred to her before that Wabi Sabi was anything more than her name. Wabi Sabi watched as her master drew breath through her teeth, shook her head, and said, "That's hard to explain." The cat's tail twitching, she watches her master, still waiting in silence. Curious now, Wabi Sabi wondered if her friend Snowball could explain the meaning of her name to her. Snowball, who had been napping, stretched, yawned, and sighed. "That's hard to explain." She blinked. It's a kind of beauty," she added after a minute, her eyes closing again, as though dreaming. She went on. "An old straw mat, rough on cat's paws, pricks and tickles, hurts and feels good too." Then Snowball went back to sleep. Wabi Sabi wasn't sure she understood, but she didn't want to bother Snowball anymore. So she asked Rascal, the dog, if he knew about Wabi Sabi. Rascal was smart, but kind of mean. "That's too hard to explain to someone like you," he snapped. Then, almost to himself, he said, "Poor Wabi Sabi, as simple as a brown leaf, so ordinary." "Now I'm even more confused," sighed Wabi Sabi. "Am I beautiful or ordinary? Can anyone explain Wabi Sabi to me?" she cried. A bird flying by thought the question was for her. "That's hard to explain," she said to Wabi Sabi, "but there is someone who can help you. His name is Kosho, and he lives on Mount High to the east. A wise old monkey living among the pine trees knows Wabi Sabi." "Thank you," said Wabi Sabi, and off she went to learn what her name meant. To get to Mount High, she had to cross through the city, dazzled by big buildings, shiny glass, and sleek cars, awed by the busy, sharply dressed people. She wondered if these pretty things could be Wabi Sabi. She decided that if her name was true to her, it must be softer, quieter, darker. Even in cities, before the shock of new light, the colors of dusk. A short time after Wabi Sabi entered the woods, she arrived at the foot of Mount High. The woods were dark now, so hoping to find Kosho in the morning, she curled up beneath an old pine tree and went to sleep. She awoke to the sounds of a stick stirring and tapping. A warm bowl of tea offered by a monkey, please, steam rising gently. Very glad to have the tea and company, she said. Thank you. My name is Wabi Sabi. That's wonderful, the monkey replied. Encouraged, she asked, do you know what that means? Well, that's, he began. I know, hard to explain, she said, but he went on. The pale moon resting on foggy water. Hear that splash? A frog's jumped in. That's Wabi Sabi, she asked. Is that all? I don't know if I can. It's more, said the monkey. Listen, watch, feel. He said no more, so she watched him make tea. He moved slowly but gracefully, as if he were dancing, and he handled his things as if they were gold, although they were wooden or clay. Wabi Sabi felt what was in her paws. A warm, heavy bowl, comfortable as an old friend, not fine, smooth china. She looked carefully at the woods surrounding them. There was so much life, as in the city, but here things were not clean, neat, or sharp-edged. There were no straight lines, yet there were many designs on trees, in clouds, and dirty ponds. She saw that everything was alive and dying too, like the damp autumn leaves curled beneath their feet. Simple things are beautiful, she heard the monkey say as he poured more tea for her. Looking down at the tea in her bowl, seeing herself plain and beautiful, she whispered, now I understand. After some time, Wabi Sabi thanked her new friend and started back for home. Because she did not hurry, she found a place called Ginkakuji, the Silver Temple. There was nothing silver there, but she found the place to be very beautiful, in a Wabi Sabi kind of way. Although the buildings and gardens were shaped by humans, they were neither fancy nor grand. Moved by the natural simplicity of the place, Wabi Sabi composed 3 short poems about what she saw. Yellow banana stalks bow by tea house doors so low, emperors must kneel. Dark buildings floating sit on white sand seas. A stream sweeps small stones chanting. The monk returns, leaves to just raked sand. This humble cat might understand. Tired but glad, Wabi Sabi returned at last to her house. She curled up on the straw mat in the kitchen, enjoying the warmth there. She could smell the wind in her fur and feel her long journey's steps deep in her bones. The sun's last rays stretch a silver brushstroke, shivers on warm clouded glass. Now I think I know what to call this feeling, she said to herself. It's Wabi Sabi, cried her master, seeing her. Where have you been? That's hard to explain, she purred, feeling simply and beautifully at home.
Now's the time in our service for a meditation. In the book, The 6 Names of Beauty, which inspired this service, Crispin Sartwell outlines the diverse ways that different cultures view the concept of beauty, ranging from the Navajo equating beauty with health and harmony, the Greek perception of beauty as perfection and ideal, and the Hebrews seeing beauty as glow or bloom. Hannah will talk more about this presently. For our time of meditation this morning, I invite you now, where you are sitting, to put both feet on the floor. And if you like, rest your hands on your thighs and breathe in deeply through your nose. As we listen to the following video by Peter Mayer titled Japanese Bowls, please let your hearing and vision take you to a place of quiet and introspection and reflect on the beauty that is captured in the Japanese art of kintsugi.
Beauty is one of those things that we think we know what it means. And then when we stop to really look at it and pin it down, it's quite difficult to define and quite mysterious. It can be sort of abstract and sort of out of grasp of our understanding. Is something beautiful? If we find something beautiful, is that because of a quality in the object that we behold as beautiful? You know, whether it's a mountain or a bowl or the face of someone we love, or is beauty in the eye of the beholder, as many philosophers have argued? And of course, our culture and our language and our historical context plays a part, informs what we might find beautiful and then what we might find just not appealing or even ugly and repellent. So Crispin Sartwell, in this book, 6 Names of Beauty, devotes each of the 6 chapters to a different word for beauty from a different language. And Lorna mentioned this. And so in English, the word that we use, beauty, Sartwell shares how it's really tied up with a sense of longing. And then we have the Japanese term wabi-sabi, which is actually very different from our Western notion of perfection, and that traces back to the Greeks. And Sartwell talks about that. And so the very fact that the cracks in the Japanese bowl, the simplicity of the temple that we saw in the children's book Wabi-Sabi, that's an aspect of Japanese aesthetics. And so the point of the book isn't to really pin down and finally define what beauty is. It actually, he says at the end, is to get us to expand our understanding of beauty. And it does have this effect that once you sort of start thinking about beauty, you begin to see it in more places than you did before, and you come to appreciate the wide variety. And in that, I think it actually relates to our UU principles about supporting each other, sort of finding great joy in our variety and diversity, and supporting each other in our spiritual pursuits. And so I came across Sartwell's book many years ago when I was teaching a first-year seminar course. And so I had the students read the book, and they sort of struggled with it. But the assignment then was to find something, either in their room or on campus, that they found beautiful, to stop and spend some time. I think I made the assignment 5 minutes, which to them seemed interminable, to just sit quietly and look at the object and really think about what was it that was beautiful to them. And then they had to write something and present it in class. And, this was just an assignment I sort of put together. And the results, what the students came back with, really blew me away. So one baseball player brought this beat up old baseball hat that a coach had given him, and he talked in loving terms about why it was beautiful to him. And a student from sort of inner city Chicago brought this kind of old plastic clock that most people would not consider beautiful, but for her, it connected her back to her family and her home. And then I had a student from Syria, Hind Alouche, who very quietly, she went last because she was quite nervous, held in her hands a copy of the Quran and talked about why it was beautiful to her. And so I kept in touch with Hind and invited her to do that talk again for us And she very graciously said yes. And so we're now going to share with you Hind's talk about what she finds beautiful.
Crispin Sartwell defined beauty as an object of belonging. He defines belonging as an unsatisfiable desire. My name is Hind, and today I'm going to talk about an object I found beautiful. I chose to talk about the Quran, which is the holy book of the Abrahamic religion, Islam. And in order to do this video, I meditated for a few minutes. I meditated on the Quran. I tried to focus on the feelings I will experience and the thoughts behind my feelings. I felt looking into Quran. I felt a sense of peace. I felt secure. I felt a sense of belonging, that I belong to a group, that I am a part of a whole. And when saying belonging, I didn't mean that I belong to a certain group of people or certain ethnicity or a religious group. I meant these books make me feel that I belong to humanity, that I belong to other people, and other people belongs to me regardless of our origin or country or race. The first sentence in this book says, thanks God, the Lord of the universe. This book was sent to everyone, to everybody. It was sent to all humans. And the feelings of belongings that it gives to me makes me feel very satisfied and make me feel supported. The second reason why I find this book to be beautiful is because it tells me stories about prophets and messengers and good people, like Moses, Jesus, Mary, Job, Abraham, Prophet Muhammad. All these stories makes me witness the experiences that these people went through. Makes me witness how they were just a human like us. They experienced fear, they experienced doubt, they experienced hesitance, they loved, they felt desire, but all in addition to all of that, these people were people who reached the highest morals and were the most ethical people that lived on earth. And these stories give me a great role models to live after, that although they were human, they have a great virtues and great morals at the same time. This gave me lessons that although I have my own weakness as a person, as a human, I have my own desire, I can still be a moral person. I can still grow ethics in my beliefs and my behavior. The third reason why I found this book beautiful is because it motivates me to be a better person. It pushed me to be good with my parents. It motivates me to help those who are in needs, to serve my community, to be a hardworking person, to be kind, to always be just and fair, to seek education. So in this materialistic words, in this our busy lifestyle, sometimes I need a break from all of that and return and read the Quran, to go back to the virtues, to the morals that we were first taught from God. The last point, or the last reason why I found this book beautiful, is because it's a meeting point between God and human. Quran is a words of God that was revealed to Prophet Muhammad 1400 years ago, and it was saved exactly the same over all these years, the same wordings, the same order, the same organization. Nothing has changed to it. So for me, reading the Quran give me that feeling that God is talking to me. This is the words of God. And since God is the most merciful, the most gorgeous, the most knowledgeable, for me, God is the absolute beauty. And since Quran is one of God creatures, I find Quran beautiful. Thank you very much for listening. Assalamu alaikum. I want to especially thank Dr. Hannah Shell for giving me this opportunity. Professor Hannah Shell was my academic advisor when I came as an international student from Syria to the United States 7 years ago. And she was my first professor in undergrad when I was a freshman. She was not only an advisor, she was a big sister. Provided me with a great guidance through my college experience. My experience would not be the same without her. I thank her especially very much for always creating these opportunities to be always engaged in the interfaith community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Hind, so much for sharing that with us.
Aspen will now extinguish our chalice.
We gathered to light this chalice. We part the flame lit within us, an inspired community. And in the words of Martin Genaik, a British Unitarian, walk bravely, facing the truth, with goodness in your heart and beauty in your actions.
Thank you, Aspen. And I would also like to thank the blue team, Hannah, Lorna, and Michael. Hind Alush, for your wonderful presentation. Thank you. Rick was today's Zoom master, Dot and Helen for the opening words, and Aspen for lighting and extinguishing the chalice, and Bill Greenaway for reading our children's story. Announcements and offering. Our congregation thrives because of the commitment of many of us and the gifts of time and energy and talent. We recognize that a number of members have already given through money or annual contributions to the congregation. As for announcements, check the monthly newsletter or the weekly newsletter. And if you have any announcements included to be included, please get them to the communication coordinator by the 4th. My goodness, 4 p.m. on Tuesday to get into the newsletter. Also, this month is Black Heritage Month. If you Google Black Heritage Month Guelph, there are lots of rich and varied shows, talks, discussions, and events offered online to celebrate this month. So please check that out.